That's one grouping. We're going to open up and show you another grouping. You know, everything has been peaceful so far. There's been a couple lines set up by the LAPD. It's right on the left side of your screen there. And the crowd, for the most part, have observed the area that the LAPD forced the crowd into and did not force themselves towards the Kodak Theater and that stretch of Hollywood Boulevard that they were trying to protect with the National Guard. And everything has been peaceful, so that is good. We see more resources coming into the area, though. You don't see it in this shot, but on the Hollywood Freeway, I see a dozen or so LAPD units coming into Hollywood. Right now, it's getting to the size of a crowd that it can be very difficult to control. Now, we have a feeling they might continue, these two crowds. Come back to the other one, if you would. Eastbound and head towards the LAPD headquarters. We got some notice that that might be the case, and that's on Wilcox, just south of Sunset. But you can tell from these shots, Philip, it's a large crowd. And, you know, we did a hit, I don't know, right at the top, the end of the show at 12, and it was maybe a quarter of this size. So a lot of people got the word. It was rapper YG, I understand, who Instagrammed out to meet here Tuesday at noon, and no looting allowed. We haven't seen any looting, but we certainly see a lot of people flowing in.
Well, I'm just getting word that rapper YG has said he will not be there now. So he got inspired to get people together, and then he is not going to be there. But, Scott, one of the questions I have as I watch these two significant rallies that are fairly large in size, but as you mentioned, very peaceful, does it look like they're going to stay apart? Is there a way, as they head in the same direction eastbound there, that at some point they will merge, or does it look as if they will continue paths separately?
You know, it's hard to say for sure. We had the crowd that was, for the most part, all together headed westbound, and then the LAPD came in and made a skirmish line and stopped one group. They sort of split the two groups up. I don't know if that was done purposely or if they just really didn't want them to head in a certain area, and it just sort of happened out of circumstance. I believe, or we believe, the two crowds are trying to get back together to become one, and as I mentioned, there's some information they may head towards the LAPD Hollywood Station headquarters, which is on Wilcox, just south of Sunset. So it's becoming an extremely large crowd, not like what we saw on Saturday at the Pan Pacific Park. That was massive, but we are seeing thousands of people in two large groups. And like I mentioned, Philip, you know, we're seeing them just executing their constitutional rights, protesting, marching. They took a knee for a moment. They've been talking to the police officers, not really engaging them. It's been peaceful so far, and this is what you would expect, and this is what you would hope for all the way into the afternoon. And, you know, rapper YG not making it, one thing he did tweet out, I understand, or was on Instagram, no looting allowed, and hopefully everyone will abide by that.
Well, one of the things I'm noticing with these two groups, Scott, is, you know, even before we went on the air and just watching your shot, it seems as if they're all staying together. The big concern that, you know, for those who might cause ne'er-do-wells, so to speak, are those that dive off of the main group and they take off. Everybody's been very orderly, staying right in there together. I mean, are you seeing the same type of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, from experience of watching these things, usually when the marchers are allowed to march and they continue on in a certain direction and the police don't really interfere with them, we don't see those splinter groups break out, at least not early on in the marches. On Saturday, when we had that problem in the Fairfax district, you know, LAPD got a call, an urgent call, right at the corner of 3rd and Fairfax, and they had to respond. And that seemed to incite the crowd because they wanted to move, and LAPD didn't let them. It was a tough situation, I think, for everyone involved. Today we don't see that, though, for the most part, except for that one stand that LAPD made with the National Guard, and that was you're not going to go to the Kodak Theater. They weren't going to let them down that iconic stretch of Hollywood Boulevard. They forced them to turn around and come back eastbound. But, yeah, Philip, we haven't really seen any splinter groups go off and cause problems. And when the LAPD did actually form a line, we didn't see any aggressive action towards the police. We didn't see anything thrown. We didn't see individuals getting too close. You know, they try and keep a barrier. So far it's been very peaceful, and hopefully that's what we'll see throughout the afternoon. But I do believe the two crowds will come together. You can push into the intersection for me, Jamie, where they made the turn. It'd be in the bottom of our screen. If that's
it did
Wilcox,
look like they were starting to turn.
Yeah, they turned south. And if that's Wilcox there, if we can push in on the street sign, if they take that further south, it's not Wilcox, but it's going to put them close They go south here. They're going to hit Sunset. And the other group is coming eastbound on Sunset. So it looks like they're going to merge. It looks like there's some sort of coordination happening with the two groups down here, that they're going to get together. And when they do, that's going to be a huge crowd. It will be several thousand at least.
Well, one of the things I think that is lost just from above and here in studio looking there is there's really an effort by people, at least yesterday, and I'm certain the same today, there's an effort by the people involved to self-police. You could hear them talking to each other saying, don't do this, don't do that. They went so far yesterday as providing water to people who were participating. So there was a very coordinated effort to try, and they worked very well with LAPD in many circumstances yesterday, getting their opportunity to protest in their 45 minutes. And so I totally believe what you're saying there, Scott, is that there might be a coordinated effort here on the part of LAPD and the protesters to try to let them gather together and do exactly what you're saying. Avoid that confrontation that can spark, who knows, because there is a lot of anger involved in why people have chosen to come out and do this peaceful protest. And you don't want that bubbling to the surface. You'd rather let them do exactly what they're doing, which is, like you said, the constitutional right to gather, to protest, to have their voices heard. And it's been interesting to watch all of the participants really try to keep those involved on track. You know, this is what our mission is. And it's been very impressive to watch, especially here in LA, how many people have been trying to do that.
Yeah, and so far, you know, you're exactly right about what sort of transpires, at least what we've seen from the helicopter. If the crowd is allowed to go where they want and the LAPD or the authorities have a very small footprint, that certainly helps things not get to that boiling point, to not spill over and become violent. And that's what we're seeing here in Hollywood right now. No one seems to be intent on doing anything other than marching. But I want to tilt up with your camera and just give folks some perspective. I mean, the LAPD has to be ready just in case. I don't think they want to engage at all unless they have to. But as we continue up out of the shot, you will see just how many officers are ready to engage if this becomes a situation where people decide to break off and to start looting. Now, the only place I saw the